Hey, Principal Stansfield, we got the auditorium ready. Who all do you want for the assembly?
Get everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!
Hey, Grandpa Stansfield, you said you wanted Christmas lights. Where do you want them?
Put the Christmas lights everywhere.
What do you mean, everywhere?
Everywhere!
Hey, Animal Control Stansfield, what should I do with all these cats?
Slay everyone.
Slay everyone.
Everyone!
Hey, Animal Control Director Stansfield, what should we do with all these cats?
Slay everyone.
What do you mean, slay every cat?
Everyone!
Slay the Cat. Slay the Cat. Podcast!
Slay the cat is speaking truth. Slay the cat is proof. Hear us talk your favorite film. Slay the cat is juiced. Slay the cat podcast. Slay the cat podcast. Slay the cat podcast. Slay the cat podcast.
What's up to all my hitmen out there? You're listening to Slay the Cat. It's kind of like a podcast, but podcasts get knocked over. Nobody knocks over your host, Joey.
And I'm his wife, who's the opposite of a sharpshooter, Aaron.
The opposite of a sharpshooter?
I don't know what that would be, but that's what I would be.
Oh, yeah.
I've only shot a gun one time, I missed. So...
Well, I mean, most people probably miss the first time they shoot a gun.
And I have no interest in shooting again, so I never will.
What happened? I don't...
long story. My brother was high on drugs because he had his wisdom teeth pulled.
Oh, okay. It's like, Aaron,
not
don't
because
air out
he was-
your brother's dirty laundry. But he was on painkillers.
Yes, he was on painkillers. He had literally just had surgery that morning. And later on that afternoon, it was like noon probably, there was a snake in our yard. And
Snake in the yard.
I know. We were like, oh my gosh, go get the gun. Please go shoot this snake. And he was high and he shot the snake. And he was like, y'all got to learn how to do this. And so he took us out like a week later and was like, y'all have to learn how to do this. And I missed. And I was like, I'm good. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I won't. So honestly, even if there was a snake, I'd probably be like shaking so much that I wouldn't hit it anyways.
Yeah. I mean, God, snake's a small target too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't be, I'd be like, go get a machete or something.
Even though he was high on drugs, he hit the snake. So he's a sharp shot. I guess that's what you call him.
Yeah. I guess your brother's a sharpshooter.
He's a good shot.
Yeah. I remember
He's been hunting since he was like little.
Yeah. My first time qualifying in the Army, I'd never shot a gun before, and I qualified as a sharpshooter. I was pretty proud of that. Yeah. Just a little 18-year-old soldier, Joey.
Oh, that's scary.
I never really got into gun stuff. I've never owned a gun in my life.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, you're probably wondering what all this gun talk has to do with the movie we just watched, but the movie was about a hitman.
Yeah.
We're talking 1994's Leon the Professional. I didn't realize it until I read about the movie just now, but the reason, I think a lot of people don't know about this movie or didn't know about it when it came out was because it was only released in France.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know about the movie at all, just because I don't know about many movies. But that's interesting.
The first time I found out about this movie, I was at Blockbuster. No, it wasn't Block. It was Hollywood Video. My childhood Hollywood Video. I was looking at the new releases and I saw this. And I was like, what is this movie? Mm-hmm. I've never heard about it before. I don't remember it coming out. But I watched it and I really liked it. Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there is a little bit of controversy around it that I think we should address right at the top.
Yeah.
Now, when we watched this movie, I didn't tell you what the controversy was because I didn't want it to paint a negative picture of the film, but
Well, I wish you wouldn't have told me the controversy until we started the podcast. But he did tell me what the controversy was after, and I was like, oh, I wish, because I wanted to talk about it. So whenever you watch this movie, you will notice some very predatory over lines throughout this movie. There's a lot of
you meant over and undertones, right?
yes, that's what I meant. Over and undertones of pedophilia in this, and it is gross. It's not the actor that did this movie, the male actor, he did not press into or like lean into the pedophilia in any way. And he did a really great job of making this watchable, because if he leaned into that at all, it would have been so uncomfortable and unwatchable. I would have hated the movie. But he did a really great job of being more of a fatherly kind of figure to her than a romantic situation, even though that's how it was written.
Yeah, Jean Reno saved this movie. I mean, he's a really great actor and he had a great performance, but I'm sure it was his choice to, like, his whole character was almost like completely asexual.
Yeah.
He did not seem like a sexual being. He also seemed to have like sort of like a childlikeness to him
Yeah.
too, because like he couldn't read in the way he spoke
also
and stuff.
and later on, whenever he's talking to the Italian guy, he says, when you first got here, you had women issues. You didn't know how to handle your stuff because of a woman.
Right.
And he was saying, like, don't do that again. But, I mean.
Yeah, I don't remember. That was the first time I picked up on that watching it this time. But anyway, I was just talking about his performance. And the way he plays it really saves the movie, because if you had like a character doing that who was sexual in any way,
Yeah.
it would have been just way too gross to watch.
It would have been very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So he really saves the movie, and kudos to him for that. But you said you wish you had waited for me to tell you.
Yeah, because it was something that I wanted to say. Because when I was watching the movie, I wanted to say, like, hey, when you watch this, there is, because I was like, there are some undertones of like.
Did you think that I didn't pick up on it?
No. I feel like it's easily recognizable, but I didn't know the controversial thing is the person that wrote it is a pedophile.
Yeah,
and if you wouldn't have told me that, I may not have, like, I would have said, like, it's uncomfortable, but now that you said it, it's like, oh yeah, absolutely, he purposely put that in. But whenever I was watching it, I wasn't like, the person that wrote this purposely put in these pedophilic kind of relationship.
So now that you know, it was like more subconscious? Or?
I thought it was kind of a subconscious thing, but now that you told me that they were, I'm like, no, that was totally intentional.
Yeah, 'cause maybe when I was younger, I thought like, because it is I remember watching it when I was younger, and it was like kind of makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I thought like, oh, maybe that was just sort of an accident. Mm-hmm. That they didn't want to make it seem that way. But,
exactly.
But then when I found out more about this director who has sexual assault allegations, but also here's the part that I didn't tell you, right?
Okay. So
this is on Wikipedia if you want to go read it for yourself. The film was critically re-examined in the wake of the Me Too movement after sexual assault allegations were levied against Luc Besson. That's the director.
So he's the director and the writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma Win, I think that's how you say it. Ma Win, Luc Besson's 16-year-old wife at the time of filming, says the film was inspired by their relationship. She says when Luc Besson did Leon, the story of the 13-year-old girl in love with an older man, it was inspired by us. Besson and Ma Win, I'm probably butchering that again, but when she was they met when she was 12 and he was 29.
Oh my god.
And he officially started dating her when she was 15, the legal age of consent in that country. Besson married her at age 33 when she fell pregnant at 16.
So he was 33 and she was 16.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. So this guy is a predator.
Yeah.
There is no other way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Anything else you want to say about that?
Well, knowing that, going into watching this movie, you will definitely pick those up. I think if I were to watch this again, I would be even more uncomfortable than watching it the first time, because there were several times like when they play, when they're playing together, like, and he's like spraying her with water. I was like, this is very awkward. I did not like that scene, and like the actor did a good job of like not making it too sexual, but it was still very awkward to watch.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable to watch. But watching that again, I don't know. I'll talk about like watching it again later, but
yeah, and we watched the theatrical version. There's a director's version that I've never seen that adds more stuff in that makes it even more weird.
I saw a scene. I was looking on YouTube for like clips of the movie, like iconic clips, just kind of refreshing myself. And like a scene came up that I think is from the director's cut. And I was like, oh, this wasn't in the movie. No. And it's just like a scene where they go and assassinate someone.
Oh, okay.
So it was interesting.
Yeah.
It wasn't weird or sexual or anything like that, but.
Okay. Yeah, but I've heard that the director's cut has even more weird stuff in it. But you kind of get, now reading about him and his wife's weird relationship, it makes me think like, oh, the movie, if the characters had lived, they probably would have gone on to have a romantic relationship.
Yes.
But since he died, we never got to see it play out.
Yeah.
But also another thing I wanted to bring
Thankfully.
up. Thankfully. Yeah.
Glad he died. No, I'm just scared. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, whatever. But people have talked about what it would be like to see a sequel to this movie. Ugh. But no, think about it. He's dead, right? Leon is dead, and then eventually... She goes to
this girl's home.
Yeah, she goes to this girl's home, but imagine a sequel where she is grown up, and now she is a cleaner. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
It could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, if Natalie Portman came back to play like the adult Matilda, and then I don't know what the plot of the movie would be, but I would go see that. I think that would be cool as hell.
Yeah, as long as there's no predatorial overtones.
Yeah. I mean, the movie could be about her like dealing with her traumatic childhood and then falling in love with an adult man. And like,
yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of plays into the whole point of the reason I didn't think it was purposeful was because I think they were I thought before you told me that was that they were trying to make a point of like people that grow up, like kids that grow up in abusive homes go into abusive relationships.
Right. You marry your unfinished business.
Exactly. So like, I mean, I know several occurrences where someone was in a not great situation growing up and then they go and date someone who's way older than them or in an abusive relationship because like it's hard to break out of patterns. Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought the point of the movie was. Like, oh, she's like stuck in this kind of like pattern of being this bad, like she's this bad girl. Kind of.
Yeah. Her character is like her dad beats her up. Her mom, her sister are mean to her. Mm-hmm. And then she finally comes across this one adult who's nice to her.
Yeah.
So she like develops a childlike crush on it. It's like that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but also there's all that stuff like her wardrobe in the movie and her hair.
Yes. The wardrobe is really one of the things that is very sexualized. Like she's wearing like these like very soft shorts that like are revealing, like they don't reveal a lot of her skin. I mean, they're shorts, but like they're soft. So like when people run, like you see your movement of your body. It's almost like being naked.
Right.
Like I have shorts like that I only wear at home. I don't wear out and about. Because if I were, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, cover up." You know exactly what shorts I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I like it when you wear those.
Thank you. But like those shorts are for my home, and like that's it. Like the clothes she was wearing are like just
Yeah, but the thing is, like, watching it now that the director was like, no, cut her hair like this, make her wear this because he wants to sexualize her.
yes.
But you as the viewer, you might be saying like, okay, well, she's been traumatized.
Yeah.
And she thinks this is a way to get attention or something like that. And also her character is written to be like mature beyond her years.
Yeah.
Which is something that predators always tell younger girls. They're like, oh, you're so mature. It's like, no,
yeah.
you're not.
And the other thing that goes along with that is like kids that are in abusive homes have to not mature, but have to fake grow up earlier.
Right.
They have to put on this facade that they are older than they are because they have to take responsibilities that shouldn't be put on their age. So like she's going grocery shopping at 13 when her older sister is just sitting at home. Mm-hmm. Like her mom is sitting at home. Why isn't her mom going to go grocery shopping? They're putting it on this young 13-year-old.
Right.
Like she's smoking cigarettes. Like she's taking on these adult features, but that's also a predatorial thing.
Right.
They see that, oh, she thinks she's an adult. I can also take that and be like, oh, you're so mature.
Right. Yeah. But
play with that.
You could read it as a trauma response,
Mm-hmm.
or you could read it the way the director reads it, and it's like, oh, she's mature enough to be with an adult man.
Exactly.
It's like, no, she is not.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of interesting duality about this movie. And the kind of, if you're a fan of this movie like I am, the things that you have to tell yourself so you don't feel like you need to take a shower after you're done watching.
God.
All right. Well, on a more lighter note, we're trying to record this episode quickly because we have tickets to go see a musical tonight
Yeah.
called Triassic Park.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Is this company like so it's in Houston. Is this company like self-producing this show? Like did they write it and
I kind of feel like that's the case.
Okay, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Maybe if it's really good, maybe it'll get picked up or
somewhere?
something, like by a bigger theater or a touring company or something. But if the name sounds familiar, it's supposed to be Jurassic Park, but it's told from the perspective of the dinosaurs
Yeah.
in Jurassic Park than the people.
I'm so excited.
And that sounds so funny to me.
I know. I'm so excited.
This is so up my alley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of our alley. This is definitely, I love like a spoofy musical, spoofy kind of, I'm into spoofs, and Joe was like, I don't think it's a spoof. It's spoof. Like a spoof is considered like.
A parody. I think it's a parody.
Oh, parody. Yeah. Parody.
Spoof is like those movies that go for like all the really silly jokes and
Oh, okay.
like Hot Shots Part 2 or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
But
parody.
anyway, yeah. Still kind of in the same realm.
Yeah.
But we're going to go see that tonight. And then the next time we record, we'll tell you how it was.
Yeah. So, do you want to get into the movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. So this movie starts out hot. Somebody's going to get hit. It doesn't tell you that right away, but like it's kind of hinted at.
Well, the first thing you see is there is a helicopter shot over Central Park, and then it pans up and you see all these buildings. So you're like, oh, it takes place in New York. Mm-hmm. And then it goes to a restaurant called Supreme Macaroni. And then in there you've got...
I didn't register what the restaurant was called.
Yeah, Danny Aiello, who's an actor I really like, who plays the restaurant / mob guy. Mm-hmm. He is saying like, oh, you need to pay a visit to our friend. He's not supposed to be in town, but he came anyway.
Oh, okay.
So he gives like a picture of it, and then you see across the table there's a guy who's drinking milk.
Yes.
Right? And this is another kind of like, they're trying to tell us that he's very childlike because he drinks milk. You know, like nobody over the age of 5 drinks milk anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So then it goes to a hotel, and there's a guy walking in, and he's the guy in the picture that he gave to the hitman, and he's got a bunch of hinge guys with him, and he's there to meet a hooker.
Yeah.
Or an escort. or something like that. What did you think of that escort's hair?
It was not cute. It
was weird.
Very, like, ugh. It was super short. I don't know. It looked like a wig, like really bad wig.
Yeah, and they had like a headband to cover it. But it looked like there was a Metroid on her head.
Oh.
Because, like, I don't know.
Yeah, like a helmet.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Her hair definitely looked like a helmet.
Yeah.
Even later on, whenever she didn't have it on, it looked like a helmet. So, anyway, so the mob guy is upstairs with his escort, and his guys they're all in his room, and they have like cocaine.
Yeah, you get the idea that they're like cocaine dealers or something like that because they're in there snorting the cocaine that they're probably supposed to be selling. Mm-hmm. And this guy is like in bed with his escort, and he gets a phone call, and he's like, what is it? And the guy's like, there's somebody here to see you.
Yes. Oh, the guy gets a phone call because someone is in the lobby and he has a gun to him. Yeah.
You can see the gun pointing at his face.
Yeah. And he goes, how does he look? And he goes, serious. And so I think that's like a clue. I don't, that's not the right word, but like a hint to them, like, hey, like someone's here that's not, he's serious. He's here to kill you.
Yeah. And also that like these guys who are supposed to be like henchmen who they're already afraid of him. Like this guy is scared by him. And then so he tells his other henchmen to like be ready because somebody's coming up. So they pack up the drugs real quick after like rubbing it on their gums.
Yeah.
And then they go get in position.
And then they just get taken out one by one.
Yeah. Well, the elevator comes up and the elevator door opens and they see something in there. So they start shooting at it, but it's the guy from downstairs.
Oh yeah. He's hanging by his wrist.
Yeah. And then some guy looks over the balcony of the stairs and Leon pops up and like pulls him over the edge by his tie, which is really cool and unexpected.
So you can tell like already that this is like a really smooth hitman.
Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. He's really good at his job.
Yeah. And then a bunch of guys go out on the balcony that's outside and he slams like the metal door shut on it and then kills them all or something.
Well, yeah, it's like the hurricane,
storm windows.
Storm windows they shut. And so and you see all these bullets shooting inward. And he kills all the guys. And then you see someone's eye go to one of the holes and then he shoots through the holes.
Yeah. And then the guy that he's supposed to talk to, he gets spooked and he like completely unloads an Uzi. Mm-hmm. And he calls 911 even though he's so scared, even though he's a criminal, he calls 911.
Yeah, to get the police there.
Yeah. So he backs up into like a shadow and Leon comes out real slow with a knife and puts it on his neck. And then the guy, the police officer answers the phone and he goes, I'll call you back.
Yeah. And so he then tells him to call someone's, like he says, call this number. And then he says, you're not supposed to be here. So you need to get out of here.
Yeah. He says something like, how long are you going to be here? And he's like, oh, just the day. And he's like, okay, be sure that you do. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to see you here again. And
so he says, like, give the phone back to
our mutual friend.
Our mutual friend. And then he tells him, let him go.
And make sure that he never comes back.
Yeah. He says, I put, like, big guy was let go, but I was like, I didn't understand why they let him go.
Probably because he's like the family member of somebody who's high up in the mob.
And he doesn't want to make mess.
Yeah. That's why they can kill the henchmen because they're nobodies.
Yeah.
But like if he's the son of like, a New Jersey mob boss, they kill him, then they're going to have a war on their hands.
This was also a really funny moment while he like has the knife to his throat and he's like on the phone. The girl the escort like stands up and she's like trying to leave.
Yeah.
And they're just watching her leave and like, whatever.
Yeah, she's like, I'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he disappears back into the shadows, and that's it.
Yeah, we cut to the apartment.
Yeah.
Is it an apartment?
Well, he leaves on a train, and then he goes and buys milk, and then he goes home, and that's where he runs into Natalie Portman on the stairs.
Yeah.
And also, you asked me if this was Natalie Portman's first movie. It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was her very first movie. And we didn't talk about it, but I mean, she gives an incredible
Oh,
performance.
she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's always been a fantastic actress.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, people had to have seen her in this and been like, she's a star.
Yeah.
Like, literally. She probably got those Star Wars movies because of this.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So we go into this apartment and we see Natalie Portman with a cigarette, and
Her feet are dangling off the staircase.
and we also see the DEA guy, and he's talking to her dad about how he's like, did he cut the coke?
Yeah, he said, like, when we gave you the cocaine, it was 90% pure. But when we came and picked it up later, it was only 90% pure. So what happened to the rest of it? Mm-hmm. You know? And he's like, I don't know. I didn't mess with it or anything like that. And then this is our introduction to Gary Oldman. What did you think of Gary Oldman's performance?
It was psychotic. I feel like if he acted like that as a police officer, I mean, it seems like a little, like, I thought he was just a drug lord, but he was an actual police officer. It seemed a little too far.
Yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to think at the beginning when you first meet these guys. That's why they're in regular clothes and not cop uniforms. It's like, oh, these guys are drug dealers or something like that. But it turns out they're DEA. So,
Well, yeah, but he never changes. He never stops acting like that. And he's always like this psychotic guy. And I'm like, he's like even at the station acting like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like you would get fired.
Aaron, do you know cops?
No, I don't.
You don't know how corrupt police forces are?
I know
and
that
stuff?
police forces, there's a lot of corrupt cops out there, but I'm just saying, like, he's very, like, psychotic.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe people are afraid of him.
Maybe.
But what this movie sets up about him and his people is that, yeah, they're DEA agents, but they're corrupt. So they're just as bad as any drug dealers because they're using their position to make money.
Well, they're worse than a drug dealer because they can get off easy.
Yeah, they can get off easy. And plus, the police force is going to protect them anyway because they don't like to rat on their own.
Exactly.
You know?
So nothing's going to happen to him.
Yeah. And then, so Malky, who's the guy who's been talking to Matilda's dad, is like, look, I'm going to have to disturb Stan, and he doesn't like being disturbed when he's listening to his music. Mm-hmm. And then so he goes and gets him, and he takes his headphones out, and he listens to classical
Beethoven.
music. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious that's the music he listens to because it's royalty free, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought it was kind of an interesting choice. So he goes over there, and he starts smelling him.
Yeah. Because I say that he can sniff out a lie.
Yeah.
And it was a little far.
But I thought it was funny that he's literally smelling the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see that his, like, he's in with bad people.
Yeah. So he says to him, you need to find out who stole our cocaine by noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he says he believes him, but he says, you need to find out by tomorrow. So you as the viewer knows, like, okay, something bad's going to happen to this guy.
If he doesn't find out.
Yeah. Or we know it was him. And we know that he's lying, but we're like, something bad's going to happen to this guy. Either he's going to have to come up with some cocaine from somewhere, or something bad's going to happen to him.
And even if he does come up with that cocaine, it's going to be like, you lied to me. Something bad's going to happen for lying.
Right.
So,
But it also reveals that Leon was watching this through his door the whole time.
Yes.
And then he takes off his coat and reveals he's got a bunch of weapons underneath his trench coat. Mm-hmm. So then they show him doing his regular daily stuff, like drinking milk, watering his plant, doing sit-ups, sleeping in a chair. So it illustrates to us that he's a pretty lonely guy, that he just sits in his apartment all day and does hits for the mob.
Yeah. I mean, that's his life.
Yeah. And then it shows us what Maddie's life. I keep calling in my notes. I put Matt and Maddie in my notes for short, but Matilda's house shows us what her home life is like.
So she has also whenever we see Leon whenever we first see Matilda, we see that she has a bruise on her eye, so she's being beat. So I said like someone's beating her. It's probably her dad, which is true, but also. Her mom slaps her. Her sister slaps her. The only one that gives her any love is her little brother.
Right. Do you remember what the first time they meet? What does he say to her? I forgot already.
I can't remember.
I don't remember either. But he's nice to her too.
But I think he says something about like the cigarette.
Oh yeah, and she's like, just don't tell my dad.
Yeah.
About the cigarette. And then, like we find out that. She doesn't like her older sister, and it's like a half sister. Mm-hmm. And she turned off her Transformers to watch her workout video. So she's mad about that. And it shows her like hugging her little brother. But then her and her sister start to fight, and they burst on their parents in the bathroom while they were like getting horny with each other.
Getting horny with it. Na, 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 na. Yeah, so they're supposed to be at school, but the parents are just like, whatever, they're taking the day off because they can just do that, I guess.
Oh, and we also find out that Matilda is supposed to be at a girls' school.
Yeah, so right after she bursts in, she goes into the room and there's a phone call, and it's from a school, and they say how Matilda is supposed to be in this school, but she
hasn't been there in 2 weeks.
She hasn't been there in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And she says, oh, she's dead, and then hangs up the phone. And I kind of thought, like, you could look at that as, oh, she's just lying. But the look on her face when she hangs up the phone is like, yeah, I actually am dead. Like, my spirit's dead because I hate my life and I hate my family. That's kind of how I took that to mean.
Which, I mean, if she's in another place, it'd be easier to just be separate from them.
Yeah.
But... I guess it was like also hard to just be there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I feel like if I were her, I'd be like, please send me back to that girls' school.
Yeah.
I remember once I asked my dad if he'd send me to a military school.
Really?
Yeah. And he was like, no. That's how desperate I was to get out of my house at like 10 years old. I was desperate to grow up when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Were you?
Yes.
I just wanted to be an adult so bad.
Yes and no. Because my dad wasn't around too much. Yeah. It was mostly my mom.
Right.
Luckily.
Today, Joliet told me that she doesn't want to grow up.
Aww.
And I was like, that's good. Like, growing up too fast is probably not good for you.
Yeah. It stinks to grow up.
Yeah. Well, we were talking to that. We ran into one of your old students at the store today.
Yeah.
And you were saying, I told him, like, the summer sucks when you're an adult.
Yeah.
Because now he graduated. Mm-hmm. And then Joliet's like, I don't want to grow up. I like the summers to be fun.
Anyways, so she is outside and she goes up to Leon's door and she says like, hey, do you need me to go to the store? I'm going to the store. Do you want me to pick up some milk? And he goes, no. And she's like, you want 2 liters of milk, right? And so she says, I'm going to go get it. So she goes.
What is this? Europe?
What is it? I don't know how much. Quarts.
No, but
2 quarts.
The important part of the scene was she's got a bloody nose, right?
Yes.
And he gives her a handkerchief, and she says, is life always this hard or just when you're a kid? Which is very sad.
Yeah.
And he says, it's always this hard, which makes it even sadder. Which
Yeah.
I love that in this movie, that it's just like, yeah, this this whole movie sucks for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and so he tells her to keep the handkerchief, and then she offers to go get him milk.
Yeah. So she runs off and goes to get the groceries and milk. And this is when those guys come up. So she's in the store, and Leon is watching through his little peephole, and the guys come in, and the DEA, Gary
Oldman.
Yeah.
Stansfeld, the character.
Yeah. So he takes this pill, and I'm like, what is in that pill? Coke?
I have
maybe?
no idea.
But he like puts it in his mouth, he bites it, and then he like seizes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird, he like contorts his body in a weird way. I think Gary Oldman, like early in his career, he had come from theater. Mm-hmm. So that like he was being kind of big in his earlier movies because he's used to being like, oh, like people far back in the theater have to be able to see what I'm doing. But yeah, he's big in this movie. And they go and they shoot at, he goes in their apartment and kills everybody.
Yeah, his guys go in there and kill everyone.
No, not even his guys. Like he goes in there and he's the one shooting everybody, and his guys look afraid of him.
Yeah.
Even though they're also corrupt cops. Mm-hmm. Right? And then he finds the dad after like shooting the older daughter and the mother, and he's like, you don't like Beethoven, do you? And he has this whole speech about not liking Beethoven. And he's like, I didn't kill everyone because Beethoven gets kind of boring in the middle or something like that.
Yeah.
And then,
which I didn't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand either. But anyway, the dad like has a gun hidden behind a curtain, and he's going to go pull it out. And when he does, he shoots and he kills one of Stan's men. And then that Rasta-looking white guy, he starts just shooting. Mm-hmm. Like he's got an automatic weapon. He's just like do everywhere. And that's when Matilda's little brother runs out from under the bed.
Well,
and he gets caught by one of the bullets.
Someone is going to look in the mattress to see if that's where the cocaine is.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they stab in the mattress exactly when the gun goes off. And so I think it freaks him out, so he runs out.
Okay.
Because he thinks that they know that he's there.
Yeah, and you're also afraid that he's accidentally going to get stabbed by that knife.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So the little brother is tragically killed. Mm-hmm.
And this is also, like, at the end of this is when Matilda comes up.
Their names are so close together.
I know. But that's when she comes back home. And she walks past and she goes into Leon's door, and she rings his doorbell to like let her in. And then you see that they look at a picture that has all three kids, and they're like, wait, there's only two kids here. Where's the third one? We got to find her. Yeah. And so they start looking for her in the building. But Leon lets her in the room or in his apartment.
Right. Yeah, and then also, like, Gary Oldman's all fucked up on drugs, and his men are trying to talk him down, and he's mad because he got shot in the arm, and he's like, it messed up my suit.
Yeah.
And then an old lady comes out, and she's like, why don't you leave that family alone? And he shoots the door next to her, and she's like, go back inside.
Yeah.
That lady's part, she was small, but it was really good, I thought.
So, they've killed everyone. And then this one guy, he saw her go into his, he was watching outside the door while they were killing everyone. And when Natalie comes in, she goes to Leon's door. He saw her go there. So he went to go check, but then he hears the TV turn on, and Leon at that moment was going to shoot him in the head through the door. Uh-huh. But she turns the TV on and scares both of them. And the guy was like, whatever, it's probably not her.
Yeah.
And walks away.
Yeah. And she likes Transformers, which is the cartoon I liked when I was a kid.
Yeah. How old is Natalie Portman?
She's 2 years older than me, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's really close to my age.
So we then, the guys leave at some point,
Yeah, they leave, and then they're sitting at the table talking.
and she's crying, and he's like, "Why are you?" Like,
He's like, I'm sorry about your family.
and she's like, "I don't care about my dad or my sister."
And that wasn't my real mother. That was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only person I cared. And he was like, "Well, why are you crying?" And she said, I care. They killed my 4-year-old brother, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah. And this is a weird part because she calls like her mom or her sister a pig. And he's like, don't talk about pigs that way. Pigs are nicer than people.
And
She's like, whatever, they stink.
yeah. And he goes, "No, they don't." And he brings out like a
He's like, I got a
pot
pig.
holder?
Yeah, it's a pot holder. He's like, I got a pig in my kitchen right now.
oh my gosh.
What does he have?
I don't know. Giuseppe.
Oh, it's a part of that remote. No, well, whatever. He can chew that up. I don't care. And he's like, I got a pig in my kitchen right now. And she's like, no, you don't. And he goes and gets an oven mitt, and he's like, oh, I'm a pig or something like
Yeah.
that. He's like a French pig.
It was something.
Yeah, but it cheers her up. You know what I like about it, though, is that he's kind of like a subdued character.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk a lot. I like that he didn't go get the pig and then like turn into like some amazing performer all of a sudden. It's like, I hate it in movies when they do something like that, and it's like, oh, this guy can juggle or something. Like, it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. So it kind of makes sense that he's not good at doing the pig's
Yeah,
voice.
he's just being a little bit silly.
Yeah. And then she finds his guns because he's got a case with all his guns.
And she asks what he does, and he says that he cleans,
Right.
which is
And she says,
it's a metaphor,
it's a metaphor.
but it's code for he is an assassin.
Yeah. But she's like, you kill anyone? And he goes, no women, no kids.
And she asks him what his rates are, and he says 2,000 a head. Or is it 5,000 a head?
I don't remember.
But so she wants to.
She's like, I can hire you to kill the people who killed my brother.
Yeah, she's
And-
like, I'll do your dishes, I'll clean up for you, I'll go grocery shopping for you.
Yeah.
And you have to you teach me how to clean.
And he says, no deal. At first, he won't do it. So then they both go to sleep. And he sleeps in a chair sitting up. He doesn't sleep in a bed, which is a weird through line through the movie.
Well, because he sleeps with one eye open.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
Gripping his pillow tight. That's from the Metallica song.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of the night, he's like, well, shit, I got to get rid of this girl. So he pulls out a gun. He thinks about maybe killing her.
But he doesn't.
Right. And he probably should have, because he could have gone back to his normal life.
Yeah. And not gotten killed.
And not gotten killed. Right. But he can't do it because, he told us he doesn't kill women and children. And then the next day,
And she's a child girl.
she's a child girl. So the next day, she still wants to get him to teach her how to clean. So he hands her something and says, here, read this. And he's like, I can't. I'm behind. Like, I've been trying to learn how to read, but I'm behind. And she's like, I'll teach you how to read, and you can teach me how to clean.
Yeah. So this is like, okay, deal. Finally. Not finally. It's just like the next scene. Doesn't take much.
Yeah, so in order to show him that she can handle it, she takes one of his guns and shoots it out the window.
This moment, if I was a cleaner and I was a professional at this, and a kid just goes out the window and starts shooting around like she did, I would have been like, what the fuck are you doing? I would not have been impressed.
Well, he wasn't. He was mad.
Yeah. But I would have been like, what the fuck? Stop that. Like, I would have been like, no, I'm not going to fucking help you now, for real. But so I just thought it was a little awkward moment. She just goes out the window and starts like floppily shooting the gun.
Yeah, well, that was a big gun.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're walking down the street, and he's like, if you want to learn how to clean, you have to listen to me. And like, he's really mad. Mm-hmm. And he's like, she keeps going, okay.
Yeah. And there's rules.
Yeah. And she keeps going, okay. Okay. And he goes, and stop saying okay all the time. Okay. And she goes,
okay.
So then they go to a hotel, and there's like kind of like an older, nice man who works at the front desk. And at first they're like, oh, we're, father and daughter, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, okay, that's good. And she's got a violin, and he's like, you don't plan on playing that,
No,
do you?
he has the violin on his side. And she goes, oh, well, I have
It was his violin then.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But she's
Because
like,
it has a gun in it.
whenever he gets a question he really can't answer, she covers for him. Mm-hmm. Right? So she's trying to help him out, and she fills out the hotel intake card or whatever you call those things. And then she says, I'm putting a name of a girl I don't like at school. If things get hot, she could take the heat. And then what's his name goes to see Tony, and he's like, I need to get out an old gun. And he's like, why do you need this? You're a professional. These are for amateurs. And he's like, well, I'm training.
Well, he's like trying to practice. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, well, change, like, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but Tony says like, hey, change isn't good.
Yeah. Change can get you killed.
Yeah. And that was sort of like foreshadowing, you know? And then, so it shows them up on the rooftop, and they've got the gun out, and he's going over all, how to use it. And they pick out a target, and it turns out it's some politician who's running through Central Park. And then she shoots at him, and it turns out it's just a paint round.
Yeah, it's like paintball.
Yeah, and the Secret Service tackles him. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Because they're like red, and you're like, oh, she shot him? Because you think she's actually going to shoot him, because the gun looks very real.
It was a real gun. I don't think they make paint rounds that could fly that far. But, it's a movie, so.
Yeah.
And then I like what she said. She's like, can we try real bullets now?
Yeah. And that was the moment I was like, wait, what? Because it's red. The paintballs are red. And so you see like red on him, and he's like, oh, and then they jump on him, and they're like, where is it? So I thought he was actually like, she actually shot him. And then she was like, can we try with real bullets? I was like, oh, it was paintballs. That's where I got that. I didn't understand it at first.
All right. And then it cuts to a little montage of them just being around the house, and like she's cleaning, and they're doing sit-ups together, and
yeah, it's just kind of like a training montage.
Yeah, and he's learning to read. So it's just, typical montage stuff, trying to show how does that song go in Team America? If you need to show a lot of improvement in a short amount of time, you need a montage.
Montage.
And then
everything fades out in a montage.
Montage. But then she's like, oh, we should play a game. And she's like, I know a game. It'll help with memory or whatever. And she goes in. This is another kind of uncomfortable part.
Yes, very much so. Whenever this is the moment I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, she dresses up.
All the way up into this, I was like, oh, like he's taking on this fatherly role, kind of like taking care of her. And I didn't think anything inappropriate until this moment.
Okay, yeah.
Because she comes out and she's dressed as Madonna, wearing underwear.
Yeah, she's wearing underwear, and she's singing like a virgin, too.
Yes.
Right? And thankfully, Jean Reno, it just looks dumbfounded.
Because he doesn't know who she is.
He doesn't know who she is, but also, like, he doesn't look turned on in any way by this. So, good reaction on his part. But then she comes out like Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm. And sings, Happy Birthday to you. And he still doesn't understand.
Yes. And then she comes out like Chaplin and Gene Kelly. And he finally knew who Gene Kelly was.
Because earlier he went to the movies and saw a movie with Gene Kelly in it.
Yeah. They make it out to like he likes classic musicals or something like that. Mm-hmm. But then it's his turn to play dress up, and he comes out as John Wayne. And again, they don't make it like, oh, he's suddenly a really great performer. His accent isn't right, and he kind of stumbles around. So, will you put the dog down?
He keeps jumping up.
Our dog is being very annoying.
He's
right now.
very much so. He's very needy right now.
Yeah.
He just wants a cuddle. He just wants a cuddle. Oh my gosh, I want to choke you. Not really, but I just want to like squeeze him to death.
I just love you so much. I want to pound your little face in.
Not like that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. At this,
He's taking care of his plant, and she's like, "You really love your plant, don't you?" And he says it's his best friend. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "It's just like me. It doesn't have any roots." And she's like, "Well, maybe you should go plant it so I can lay down some roots."
yeah.
Which is kind of like a metaphor for her trying to be like, well, maybe you should stay with somebody and, build a life with somebody,
And then they start, there's a moment where they like play around.
Yeah. Cause she says you should water me. And
Gross.
let me grow.
Gross. And he starts spraying her with the water, and then they like run around the house and they're being silly. This was also a very awkward moment. And then,
And it went on too long. I think he should have just sprayed her like a couple of times and then just cut to a new scene.
yeah,
Like they go, he chases her in the bathroom and like all this
in the
stuff.
closet, and then
Yeah.
they make the door fall off. It was a long time.
Yeah, it was too much.
And then she like hops on the bed, and she's like all splayed out on the bed, and he's like sitting on the couch across from it, and she goes, "I think I love you."
Was that this part?
She says, I think I'm falling in love with you. Yeah.
I don't think that's not yet.
Oh.
Because after this, he goes to see Tony again, and he's asking about the money.
Oh, and this
then-
is where she's outside of the door.
Yeah, and then he's saying like, "Did you meet a woman?" And that's you talked about earlier, where he's like, when you first came here, you had those women problems, and I took you in.
Because this is when he starts asking about his money
Yeah.
that Tony is saving for him, because he doesn't know how to save his own money.
Yeah. And this is where we find out that Tony holds all his money, and he says the thing about like, it's like a bank, but banks get knocked over and nobody knocks over Tony. So, and then he's like, remember you didn't even know how to read. And he makes it a point to tell him, it's like, I know how to read now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he sees Matilda outside getting a cigarette.
From this boy.
Yeah.
And he goes out and he tells, because he has a job for him to do, and he goes outside and he's like, don't talk to him, like he's not a good kid. And I think this is a moment where she's like, oh, he likes me too.
Yeah. And he's like, I want you to make an effort to start talking nicer. Don't curse. So this part you're seeing, like, he actually does care about her in the way a parent would. Like, don't curse. It makes you look like a bad kid. You know, smoking's going to stunt your growth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then this is the part where it cuts back to the apartment, and she's laying in bed, and she's like, I think I'm falling in love with you. And he like does a spit take because he's drinking milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, well, if you've never been in love, how do you know what it feels like? And she's like, it's right here in my stomach.
It feels warm.
And the way this part is shot, like, really creeps me out because it's so romantic. Like, the person shooting it is like in love with Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
And it's very creepy. That part has always creeped me out. But if you're trying to make the audience feel uncomfortable, it's definitely working.
Yeah. But she's like laid out on the bed and she says that she's in love with him. And then he says, okay, well, I have to go do a job. So he leaves and he packs all his stuff. And then she goes to her house.
Yeah, she goes back to her old apartment.
Yeah.
And she slips in there.
Oh, before she does, though, she goes downstairs to the bellhop. And
right.
The bellhop goes, oh, how's your dad? And she goes, oh, he's good, but I have to tell you, he's not my dad. We're lovers, actually.
Yeah.
And he's very concerned. He has a very concerned look. And so then she goes back to her house or her apartment to go get some of her stuff.
Yeah, she
Or some
grabs
of
like
her things.
she gets
Her little brother's rabbit.
like a stuffed rabbit, and then she takes some money out of the floorboards that she knew was there. And that's when Stansfield show up with like some internal affairs guys, and he's trying to explain to them what happened, but he's like being a jerk about it. And he's like, "Hey, I lost a really good man here.
Yeah.
And you're asking me all these questions. Like, we're the good guys. We're doing our job and shit like that."
And this is the moment where I've realized that they were DEA.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I was like, I didn't. I thought they had brought him in because they were asking him questions. I didn't fully realize that they were part of the DEA until they brought him back to the DEA office.
Right.
So, like in this like kind of section, I was like, wait, why is he there? Like, why would they bring in a drug lord to this place? It didn't make sense to me.
Okay. Well, she also sees a chalk outline of her little brother, and it reminds the viewer, it's like, oh, right, she wanted vengeance for her little brother, because they hadn't really talked about that in a while.
Yeah.
So then she follows Stan back to the police department. Okay, guys, so you're never going to believe what had just happened.
You'll never believe it. Our power went off.
Yeah, our power went off, and it's literally a week later.
Bwomp, bwomp, bwomp.
Because our power went off. There been a lot of work being done on the power lines around our house ever since the hurricane.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Hurricane Beryl happened about
3 weeks ago?
Yeah, almost a month ago, but not
probably
quite.
a month ago.
And there were a lot of power lines that were down. There were people without power for over a week. And even people in the same neighborhood didn't have power. And so they're trying to fix the lines and they're trying to solve this issue. And so they were working in our neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, while we were recording, it just shut off.
Yeah. And then we had
it didn't come
tickets.
back on for a couple hours.
We don't even know because we had to leave to go see a play in another part of town. And then we got home late, so we didn't record, didn't finish. And now here we are a week later, so we're going to finish talking about Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
And then right after we're done with this, we're going to watch Roadhouse. So we're going to record an episode about Roadhouse.
Woo! I love Roadhouse, so I'm excited about that one.
That is our finale for Action August. It's a movie we both love, so we wanted to talk about it. All right. But without any further ado, Leon the Professional.
So where we last talked about was that she was going into the DEA office.
Well, she followed Stansfeld to see where he worked.
Yeah, and she's outside at a fruit stand or something.
Yeah, she follows him in a cab. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
But then...
and this is where I realized that he is part of the DEA. I didn't realize it until this moment that he was a cop and that he was a crooked cop.
All right, cool.
So they didn't really establish that very well in the beginning.
Yeah. I think that's kind of on purpose.
Yeah.
But also some scenes got cut out of this movie, so
yeah.
Anyway, then it goes Natalie Portman, Matilda is at home watching Transformers, and Leon shows up and he's kind of bloody. Mm-hmm. And then the hotel guy knocks on the door and he's like, "Mr. MacGuffin, can you come outside?" You know what MacGuffin is?
Yes and no. I know that there's it's called the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what the MacGuffin is.
So in a movie where they're trying to find something, like Indiana Jones movies always have a MacGuffin. Mm-hmm. It's like in the first movie they're trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. Mm-hmm. That's the MacGuffin. So he wanted to make a nod to that word, which the phrase was coined by Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, okay.
And it's so, if you're a fan of movies, when that guy calls him Mr. MacGuffin, you're like, oh my God, did you really do that? Mm-hmm. It just takes you out of it. I thought that was really stupid. But anyway, the hotel manager kicks him out because he thinks that Leon's a pedophile.
Yeah. And they were walking down the street.
Yes. And then he's sewing up his wounds in a new place. Mm-hmm. And then that's when he goes back to Tony's and is like, if something happens to me, I want to give all my money to Matilda.
Yeah. So,
And
because, I mean, Tony is like his bank, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And so Tony was like, well, I mean, whatever you tell me to do with your money, I'll do it. Like,
Right.
Tony seems like a really, he seems like a good crooked guy. Like, he's crooked, but he's honest to the people that he
like-
works with.
He's that mob stereotype is where it's like, yes, I do criminal enterprises, but I actually like care about people.
Yeah.
It's called a character paradox. But in real life, he would just be a bad dude. Mm-hmm. And then we see Natalie Portman, Matilda, is waiting outside for Stan to show up at the police department or DEA or wherever he is.
Oh, this is when she's at the little stand, actually.
Yeah. And now she's
waiting, and she has food or something. Like, she has like a bag.
Yeah, but she's also, interestingly, she's mimicked the way Leon dresses. She's got that weird little hat on and
Little
circular
beanie.
sunglasses. And she's got food with her, and she goes in there, and to get past security, she's like, oh, I'm just delivering food. And since she's only 12 years old, they're like, oh, well, she's not going to, cause any trouble, right?
Yeah, she's just a kid, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she throws her bag past the detector because they're like, oh, well, there's probably like metal in there because it's like wrapped in foil and all of that. So like it's going to beep anyways.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then she goes through and there's nothing. So they let her in. And
she goes into the men's room for some reason.
well, we see the, what's his name? Stansfield on the other side of the room, and he's like acting all crazy and everything. And it's like, you act like that at work? God, I would have been fired immediately. And
Well, he's a white man, so you know how that goes.
yeah, and she sees him go into the bathroom.
Right.
So he goes in the bathroom, and so she goes in after him to kill him. And she walks in, she thinks he's in a stall, and he closes the door behind her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he doesn't follow her in. She follows him in. Okay. Yeah, forgot about that.
Because he knew she was there.
Yeah.
And he asks, what kind of food is it? Is it Chinese food, some other food, or Italian food?
Right.
So he knew that there was something to do with Tony
and
Leon.
He knows Leon, but he only knows him as like the Italian mob's hitman.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he's ever seen his face.
Because he says, like, I've never seen him, but I know his work.
Yeah, that's right.
And like he says, like, I've worked with Tony before. So like there's like a mutual, like, they've worked together before in a sense.
Yeah, and he's a crooked cop. So if he needs somebody killed, he can't do it. He can't ask for somebody to be killed in the department, so he goes and uses the mob.
Yeah.
But anyway, she starts to get scared because Stansfield is a scary guy, and he's unhinged.
And he takes one of his pills, too, while he's in the room. And then that weird surfer-looking dude comes in.
Yeah, well, first...
And ruins the...
He's like, who sent you? And she's like, no one sent me. You killed my brother or something like that. And you can tell that she's really scared. And he says something about, like, do you like your life or something like that? And he's like, because I don't take any pleasure in killing someone who doesn't care for their life.
Yeah.
Which is really creepy. It's like, I only want to kill people who
want to live.
who want to live. Yeah. And then the white Rasta dude comes in. And he's also afraid of Stan. Cause
everyone is. Yeah.
And he tells him that, I forgot the guy's name, Malky or something like that.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah. Because he was doing an undercover operation, and Leon showed up and killed him. And then he said something that tipped everybody off. Was before he shot him, he said, "No women, no children." Right. So they're like, "Oh, okay." And then so they go up to his office, and they're looking through all her stuff, and she brought like tons of guns.
Yeah, in the bag.
Yeah. And then Leon gets home to their apartment and he finds a note that says, like, she is going to go avenge her brother's death and she's probably going to die doing so.
Yeah, for Leon to read.
And then...
so he's like, okay, well, I got to go after her.
Right. So he goes to the police department in a cab and he gets out and he goes up there and kills the cops who are watching her. Mm-hmm. And then comes back down and... Because
they went to go to his apartment to kill him.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Stanley, what was it?
Stansfeld
wasn't there, and the other guys were watching him because they went to go find Leon to kill him.
Oh. Yeah, and then they go to see Tony because they know that Tony knows where Leon is, and that's when we find out that they use the Italian mob to do hits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it goes to... They don't show it, but Tony squeals like a little pig. Mm-hmm. And then they show Matilda and Leon sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah.
And it just wakes up. Now, there's a deleted scene in the director's cut where it shows Matilda being like, you're going to sleep in a bed like a normal person, right? And so she makes him get into bed, and then she lays down with him, and it's very creepy. Mm-hmm. And you go, I'm glad they cut that out of the movie.
Yeah, I bet.
And then she goes to get milk. Right?
Yeah.
And when she's on her way back, SWAT shows up.
Yes. And they have a secret knock. So it was 3 knocks, 2 knocks, then 3 knocks. And that was their cue to say, like, hey, it's me. That's no one else. And so she goes out, and then when she comes back, they grab her.
Right.
And they are like, is he alone? She's like, yeah. Does he expect you? And she says, yes. And he says, is there a secret knock? And you're like, oh, shit. She's got to tell, like, is she going to tell him their secret knock?
Yeah, she hesitates for a second, and then she nods, and she reaches up to bang on the wall to show them the secret knock, but she does it differently.
Yeah, she does 1 knock, 2 knocks, 3 knocks.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And
or maybe it's 3, 2, 1. It's something like that.
Yeah. So they do some hand signals, and I have a feeling like they were all wearing ski masks in this. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that they didn't want to hire a bunch of random actors, so they just put, for each scene, they put masks on different guys, so you wouldn't see the same guys all the time.
Makes sense.
Little movie making trick out there for you. Extras cost a lot of money, or they call them background actors now. So
yeah.
So they go and knock on the door to enter the apartment, and they just push the door open, and like 3 guys go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 guys go in there, and they can't find them.
They're like looking around, and then from like you see inside the door towards the outside, and you see a hand come from above and just close the door, and then you just hear just tons of gunshots.
Yeah, you hear a bunch of gunshots. There's some bullet holes in the door, and then it goes back to the SWAT team with Matilda, and they're kind of confused and they don't know what to do. And
well, I think they think that they got him.
No, I don't think they did.
Oh,
but anyway, the leader, you assume he's the leader. He tells one of his men, he's like, "Go take a look." And the guy's like, "Damn it, I don't want to look." So he goes, he puts his head real close to the corner to like spy around, and then Leon already has a gun to his head.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Do you see anything?" He's like, "Yeah, he's right here. He's
with
got
a gun to my head."
And then they say, "Let Matilda go." And Matilda spits on the guy who was holding her. And she leaves. She goes down the hall with him, and they take the SWAT guy, and Leon says to grab an axe. Mm-hmm. So they take the SWAT guy, and Leon shoots the water sprinklers.
Yeah, so they can't see.
Yeah, and then they go, oh, the other SWAT guys go, he killed the SWAT guy. Mm-hmm. So when he shuts the door, they go around the corner and shoot, and they shoot the SWAT guy who was alive the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. So then they go into the kitchen.
And they're just trying to get out. Like, the biggest thing about this all, it's a good scene, but like the gist of it is that he's trying to get her out. She wants both of them to get out.
Yeah, and there's people everywhere. Like, we find out that there's snipers in the window.
Yeah.
And then they axe a vent, a stove, like the little vent to suck all the smoke from the stove out. And he puts the plant down in there, and then he goes to put Matilda down there, but she doesn't want to go. She's like, this thing isn't big enough for you. And he's like, I know, I'm not going to go down at you. We're going to go alone. And
I'll meet you out.
Yeah, she gets really upset, and he's like, no, we're going to be together again. And he's like, thank you for, teaching me how to live life and sleep in a normal bed and all that stuff.
And so, like, she goes down.
And he says to meet at Tony's in an hour.
Yeah. So she goes down, and then, like, the SWAT team, like, blows what is that thing?
Some sort of
missile?
Grenade launcher. But during the time that they're axing out the wall and everything, they're setting up a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
And they launch it in there, and it blows up. And
so all the SWAT guys go in, and they're looking around, and they're like, wait, we got a guy that's still alive. So they start bringing him downstairs. Immediately, and I knew it was him.
Yeah. But also while they're taking him down, you just see like the stairwell is lined with police people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we skipped over the part, the famous part where he kills that first set of guys who walks in there. And before they went in, Stanfield's like, be careful. This guy's dangerous. And then they kill them all. And he's like, the SWAT guy calls down to him and he says like, they killed him. And he's like, I told you.
Yeah.
And then he calls his friend over and he goes, hey, get me everyone. And he's like, what do you mean everyone? And he screams, everyone.
Yeah.
But apparently, according to Gary Oldman, the actor who plays Stanfield, nobody knew he was going to do that line read that way. He just went and told the sound guy, like, hey, I'm going to scream at this part, so make sure you're ready.
Yeah.
Because if you just scream into a microphone, you're going to blow it out.
Yeah.
So nobody knew he was going to do that, but it's one of the most memorable parts of the movie. What'd you think of it?
It made sense.
It made sense.
It was fitting for his character.
Yeah.
So, it didn't it's definitely like a memorable moment for sure. But for the whole movie, it's not like out of the ordinary.
No, it's
not. It
fits. Lines up with his character.
It fits. But it is a lot. But I thought it was fitting.
Yeah.
So he gets downstairs and the guys are like checking him out, and he was like, well, do we need a medic? And they take his mask off, and that's Stanfield sees him. And I think Stanfield, he just never seen Leon before, but maybe he has. Maybe there were cameras in the DEA office, and
maybe Tony showed him a picture or something like that. But he knows it's him. He
knows it's him. Because the other thing is, maybe he also knows what his men look like. Potentially, I don't know.
There's so many guys there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he knows that that's him.
Yeah, the film conveys that he knows it's him. He doesn't... how he knows it's him, they don't say it, but he knows it's him.
Yeah.
And then he tells the guy, can I put the mask back on because I breathe better with it? And he's like, yeah, go ahead. Which I've worn gas masks before. You do not breathe better with it. It slows your breathing down. If you ever worn a gas mask, it'll put you to sleep.
Really?
Yeah, because it slows your breathing down so much you just get tired. Because not as much oxygen's getting to your lungs. But it will save you in a biological attack. So.
Well, also, if all around you is smoke, you might breathe better with that.
Oh, yeah. If you're in a room that's full of smoke, it'll filter out the smoke so that you don't suffocate.
Yeah.
But if you're just in a normal room.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it was kind of smoky down there. So.
Anyways, so
Giuseppe, no. My dog is chewing on my shoes. Sorry.
Leon like somehow gets away from everyone, and he's like trying to go to Tony's, and he.
At this point, we've seen Matilda escape through the basement and go to Tony's.
Or she's on her way to Tony's.
Yeah.
And he's in this like doorway where we've seen Stansfield multiple times.
Yeah.
And
there was a bunch of SWAT guys in there, and Stanfield like shoos them all out.
Yeah.
And then you see Leon is walking down the hall, and you see the light from outside, and you think like, oh, he's gonna make it, like he's gonna get out alive. But Stansfield walks up behind him with his gun
and shoots him.
Yeah, and shoots him. And they don't show the shot; you don't even hear it. You just see it's from the point of view of Leon. And he just kind of falls on the ground.
Yeah, which makes sense because like he just had a grenade explode near him. He probably can't hear very well.
Yeah.
He's like, there's all this adrenaline going on. Like it's hard to hear when you're in that kind of state. So it was a nice effect for that moment.
And then Stansfeld is straddling over him, and Leon says, "You're Stansfeld?" And he's like, "At your service." And he puts something in his hand, and he goes, "This is from Matilda." And he opens his hand, and he sees that it's a grenade pen, and he just goes, "Oh shit!"
Well, he opens his Leon opens his shirt and sees like there's like a ton of grenades on his shirt.
Yeah.
So like he pulled one of the pins, but once one goes off, they're all gonna blast him.
Yeah.
And so like there's like it's not a long conversation, but there's like some words that happen.
Yeah, this whole part is drawn out to build up a little bit of suspense.
So like he gives him the pen, and you're just like, oh shoot, it's like literally about to blow.
Yeah.
Because like they've had this whole like he turned around and the pin was already pulled.
Yeah.
So it's just seconds away.
Yeah, and I know I've said it on this podcast before, but a grenade has a 3-second fuse. But in movies, it can be anywhere from 1 second to 20 minutes. Because if you watch movies that have grenades in it, it's convenient for whatever the story is.
Yeah.
But I love it. I don't care. It's one of my favorite movie tropes.
And Leon blew himself up so that he could get justice for Matilda.
Yeah, he wouldn't have survived that shot. Like Stansfeld carries like a 357 Magnum or something.
I have no idea.
I don't know, but it's a big ass handgun with a really big ass bullet. Like it killed his ass.
Yeah,
for sure. Or would have. He would have bled to death. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised he could even speak after being shot by that damn thing. But then it goes to Matilda, and she's at Tony's place. Mm-hmm. And she's saying, like, Tony's all beat up. And she's saying, like, do you need any work done? And he's like, what can you do? And she says, I can clean.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy.
And he's like, get over it. Like, Leon's dead. And Tony's all beat up and everything. So he looks like shit.
Yeah. And he's like,
clean up your life.
He says, get it out of your head. I ain't got no work for a 12-year-old. And he's like, he says he's hurting too because Leon's dead. Like, Leon was his friend.
So he tells her to go clean herself up and go back to school. And
that he'll give her his money.
Yeah. Like, he was like, come back monthly and I'll give you some money, but like you'll be set, but like I better not see you except once a month.
Right.
So then we see her at this girls' school, and the teacher's like, or the principal maybe is like, well, I don't like liars. You said that you died and blah, blah, blah. And then so she's like, well, do you want the truth? And so she actually tells her the truth. And the lady's like, I don't know if the lady believed her or not.
Because they don't show her reaction. She just sort of sits there, and it's like, wow.
Yeah. So I feel like if she did believe her, she would have called the cops.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think she did believe her. I think she was like, oh, she's just a little liar. I got to keep her here, though.
Yeah. And then she goes outside and she buries Leon's plant which they set up at the beginning of the movie that...
I wouldn't say she buries it. She plants it.
Yeah, plants it, sorry.
No, it's okay.
But,
She's like bringing new life to Leon.
Well, the whole thing was like... earlier
Setting
in the
up
movie,
roots.
Leon says that the plant's like me. It doesn't have roots.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, now you can have roots.
Yeah, and she calls it Leon, too.
Yeah.
And she plants it in the middle of a field, and I'm like, I don't know if that's the best place for it. It's
I
probably
don't
going
think
to
so.
die.
It's probably going to die.
Also, the landscaper might mow over it.
Yeah, but I thought it was a cute ending to
Yeah, it was nice.
cap off the whole thing. And you kind of get the feeling that she's going to be all right, even though everyone she knows is dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what do you think about a sequel for this movie?
I have no clue what it would be.
I don't either, but I think it would be really cool to see Matilda grown up and she's like...
A cleaner?
A cleaner, or maybe she even joins the police force or something like that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, because like Natalie Portman is just a great
Fantastic
actor.
actress.
Yeah, and it would be cool now that like the pedophilia part of it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You could watch a sequel about her and just feel good about the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe she...
And it could be called Matilda the Professional.
Yeah, it totally could. And you could also add a storyline in there about like she finds a young girl who comes from an abusive home and like takes her under her wing or something like that. And it could kind of, what's the word? Be a redemption, I guess, maybe a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it would be
Red
cool.
Dead.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. That is Leon the Professional. Mm-hmm. On a scale of 1 to 9 cat lives, how many cat lives did this movie slay?
For me, I would say this movie slays 7.5 cat lives. I like the plot of the movie. I like the concept of the movie. I would say the biggest part that is hard to watch is the huge overtones of pedophilia and of inappropriate relationships. And so I say that definitely like lowers this movie for me. It's fun to watch. Definitely could have been tweaked a lot. I think if he would have went in, or I mean, the actor that was given this role, like he did a fantastic job in trying not to make it creepy.
Yeah, the movie works because of him.
But I think if the writing had a lot less of those overtones, it would have been a lot more fun and enjoyable. And if like he was more of like a father figure to her and kind of like...
Yeah, if they would have leaned into like fatherhood more, yeah.
I think it would have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
So that was my rating, 7.5. Joey, what do you rate this show on 1 to 9 cat lives?
All right, well, I think this movie slayed 6 cat lives.
Yeah.
Because it was directed by a pedophile, it really leans into that even when it's trying not to. The concept is a really cool idea. I like the overall story. But because they cut it up,
Yeah.
there's some parts that kind of like don't make sense. Like the ring at the him handing the grenade pin at the end, like that should have been set up earlier in the movie, but it got cut out. And there's just some parts that I don't think work that great. I think if this exact same movie was made by like Steven Spielberg,
Yeah.
it would have been amazing.
Yeah,
because
I think so too.
He's someone who makes a lot of movies with kids in it. You know, like Jurassic Park or Jaws or something like that. But he would have gotten the relationship between them correctly, right? So I think it could have been a lot cooler if they got a director who wasn't a pedophile.
Yeah.
And Luc Besson's other movie that I know that I've seen a lot, The Fifth Element. There's a weird, creepy relationship in that too. You know, it's the character is technically an adult, but she's got a childlike sensibility to
Well,
her.
that's that baby, sexy baby thing.
Yeah, sexy baby thing, and Yeah, it's just in his movies, and because that's who he is.
He wants sexy babies.
He wants sexy babies.
Gross.
Yeah. So whereas there's a theme in Steven Spielberg movies about protecting children. Mm-hmm. So I think it would have you could have had the same story by a different guy, and it would have felt completely different.
Yeah.
So that's why it only gets 6 from me. The action scenes are awesome. Mm-hmm. Like the whole Tony, Danny Aiello. I love it. Anytime he's on screen, it's so good. And Gary Oldman's one of my favorite actors. So,
okay.
All right.
Cool. Well, before we end this, I do have a little activity. Baptivity. So, I am going to tell you about failed assassination attempts.
Failed ones?
Yes.
So, this was inspired by the recent failed attempt on former
president? It was not, but... we can also talk about that one too. So the first failed assassination attempt that I wanted to talk to you about was, where'd it go? Okay, so Andrew Jackson, Andrew Jackson, the president.
Yeah, former president.
There was a random guy shoot at him in 1835. Okay. The gun misfired. Jackson, who walked with a cane, clubbed the gunman several times, at which point the gunman pulled out a second pistol, which also misfired.
Whoa.
And Jackson was 67 at the time. So it's kind of a little funny how this old man, I can just imagine this guy comes up and he shoots at Andrew Jackson. He comes over all old and he's like, "Oh, get back here, you young whippersnapper!" And he hits him with his cane, and he pulls out another gun, and it also doesn't fire correctly, and it's just oh, I don't know what to do anymore. I think that's really funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. But to give you a little context here, he was president from 1829 to 1837.
So this is when he wasn't president.
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't when he was president. He was 67 when it happened.
Oh, okay.
But someone just tried to kill him. So these are just assassination attempts.
But still, that would have been in the mid 18th century. Guns weren't made as well back then.
Oh, yeah.
They misfired all the time.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny that
Yeah.
Well, let me bring my backup gun just in case this one misfires. And it's just well, shoot, both of them misfire. You should have brought a third gun, dude.
Yeah, should have.
3 times the charm.
Or a knife or something. Knives don't misfire.
Yeah. Especially if if he was close enough to club you, you could have stabbed him.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, Fidel Castro. Okay. You know Fidel Castro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know of him. You don't know him personally. So
we take the bus together.
So there was a documentary in 2006 called 638 Ways to Kill Castro. It's because there was this rumor that the CIA had attempted to kill Castro 638 times, which is not true. The actual attempts are more around 600.
Whoa.
So the other 38 were just kind of plans. So some of those plans, one of them was, so Castro is he even still alive? No.
No.
When was
this
all happening? Scuba diving. He liked to scuba dive.
Oh.
And one of their plans was to plant mollusk shells and that contained explosives in the sea while he was underwater and paint them bright colors so he would be attracted to them. It just sounds oh, come get the worm. It just sounds so silly.
Yeah. Does the CIA not have anything better to do
I don't
than try
know.
to kill this guy?
Well, but yeah. So that was one of the funny attempts. Another one was poisonous pens, exploding cigars, bacterial poisons designed to be dissolved in his coffee or tea. So there were lots of weird attempts on his life.
We need to do we need to do a month of movies. There's a lot of great movies that are like comedies about like this era of government where like there was all these spy craft going on.
Yeah.
And like one I really like is called The Men Who Stare at Goats. Mm-hmm. It's about a military group that was trying to use their mind to do stuff like telekinesis and stuff but it's a comedy.
Okay.
Because this stuff was so crazy, it's funny. you know? So I love that.
Okay. The next one, and I think this is going to be the last one.
Okay.
So, so Nero is a Roman, he was a Roman emperor.
Okay. This is way outside of my realm. So,
okay.
But go ahead.
So, he attempted to kill many people. One of them being his mother and his lovers. At one point, he commissioned an assassination on Agrippina the younger, his mother and sometimes lover. So I guess he had sex with his mom. He sought to poison her, then to have her crushed by a falling ceiling or drowned in a self-sinking boat, before ultimately having her murdered disguised as a suicide. He was betrothed at 11 and married at 15 to an adopted stepsister, Claudia Octavia, the daughter of Emperor Claudius. At the age of 24, Nero divorced her and banished her, ordering her bound with wrist slits and had her suffocated in a steam bath.
Whoa.
I know. He was a rough guy. So like all of his assassination, I think I read somewhere, I didn't screenshot it, but like he attempted to kill his mom several times with very unsuccessful ways. So if you want more information on Nero, definitely look him up because he's a little funky guy.
Yeah, it's funny to think about like these past ancient civilizations and all the crazy stuff they used to do. They must have produced like so many psychopaths because you said he was married at 11 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's too young. Your brain is still developing. Like people's brains still matured the same back then, but there was no such thing as like age awareness.
Yeah, I wonder what the age, like how old people were when they died at that time.
I don't
know. If they were like in their 30s, like being 11 is like, oh, like you're a man now, Yeah,
well, I think a lot of there's a misconception that people used to die really young back then, but that's not so much the case.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there wasn't an age consciousness the way there is now. Like people didn't think about, oh, you're 5 years old, you're 10 years old. They did it was more of a biological thing. So that's why girls used to get married once they were able to have babies.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, you're 18 and you're mature enough to be an adult. It's like, oh, you can have babies, so we'll give you someone to have babies with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get like, it's not right, but I've totally understood like the reason that they make girls like young brides because they want to start having them have children young.
Yeah. But that's what I'm getting at is like they were doing these things, but
they also may have started their periods later in life too.
Well, they probably did, but still what I'm saying is people's brains didn't mature differently back then, but practices were different. I'm saying like they didn't have psychology back then.
Yeah.
So they didn't know that this was fucking kids up.
Yeah.
And it was, and probably Nero was a psychopath because he had a traumatic childhood, but there was no such thing as traumatic childhoods back then.
Well, he may have just been a psychopath and they didn't know. He
could have been born that way.
He's just so mean.
Yeah.
They could have just been like, oh no, he's just actually a psychopath. So, but that's it. That's our little activity for today.
Okay, so that's our episode for Leon the Professional.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed it. If you want to write in and talk to us about it, it's joeyanderinpod@gmail.com.
Message us, please.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Don't forget to slay and neuter your cats, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.